Okay, we're live.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, we're good to go.
Yep, we're live. Right.
We are good to go. We'd like to welcome everybody to our regular city council meeting. It's Tuesday, November 19th, 2024. I apologize. We are 9 minutes late.
We're live.
My fault. We had a work session that we had to continue and had to get done. So I'm sorry we're a little bit late, but we'll get right into this meeting tonight. Item number one was the work session. Took care of that. Item number two is our roll call. Amy? Here?
Jansen? Here.
Councilmember Zishan?
Here.
Councilmember Parkinson?
Here.
Councilmember West?
Here.
Councilmember Thomas?
Here.
Okay, looks like everybody's here and present. We appreciate that very much. Thank you. Item number three is our Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll all rise and repeat the pledge with me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for that Pledge of Allegiance. I sure appreciate that. And I welcome all of you. We have a couple staff members, a couple residents with us here in person, and hopefully we have several online with us tonight. So welcome all of you taking your time. Let's move on to item number 5, consent items. We have 5.1 is approval of the agenda and the November 5th council meeting minutes. Any issues? Yes,
Just
Cheryl.
one on the,
Yes.
the last council meeting minutes. It was mentioned that we had the Titans team here. And I like that, but I also wanted to recognize that our room was filled. So I would suggest that we add to that families and coaches, just so that we know we had a crowd.
We did have a crowd, largest crowd ever probably. So,
It was nice.
okay. Everybody okay with that addition to our minutes? Z? Do I get a
Oh, yeah.
head nod?
Yes.
Okay. Didn't know if that was a sideways or a up and down. Okay. Okay with that? All right. Any objections to the approval of those two items with that small change? We'll approve those by general consent. Thank you very much. Let's move on. Pretty excited. We have a special order, item number 6. This special order tonight is a public hearing for Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG public hearing. So I love these. I love to do these every year because it gives us an opportunity to get some grant money if we qualify. So we're going again this year. Appreciate Amy and all her work and whoever's helping her go for another CDBG grant this year. So at this time, I have introduced the item. Let's see, no presentation this time. I guess I'm the presentation. Okay, then there's some certain things that I have to read, so I'll go through this paper. The purpose of the hearing is to provide citizens with pertinent information about the Community Development Block Grant Program and allow for discussion of possible applications for the 2025 funding cycle. The grant money must be spent on projects benefiting primary low and moderate income persons. The Wasatch Regional Front, in which Washington Terrace City is a member, is expected to receive approximately $978,712 in this new program year. All eligible activities that can be accomplished under this program are identified in the CDBG application policies and procedures manual, and interested persons can review that at any time. Several of the eligible activities on the list include construction of public works buildings, facilities, water and sewer lines, fire stations, acquisition of real property, provisions of public services such as food banks or homeless shelter. Washington Terrace has been very fortunate in the past to receive 14 CDBG grants, which were used to purchase fire department equipment, to include a skid loader for the brush truck, thermal imaging equipment, and breathing apparatus. We also did seismic upgrades to 2 water tanks, a restroom and Bowery at Victory Park, the 4525 South Sewer Main replacement construction, and construction of the seniors Civic Senior Center and Fire Station, water main feeds, installation of water valves throughout the city, a cabin chassis for the fire department, the AMI water metering system, and currently the removal and construction of the parking lot at Romer Park. The city has handed out or the city has available its capital investment plan as part of the the regional consolidated plan. And this list shows projects which the city has identified as being needed in the community. Okay, I think I covered everything. Right, right, Amy? Okay, at this time, council, I will turn it over to council for any questions you may have for myself or for Amy at this point. Questions?
So this proposal is to allow us to put grants forward as we see projects come available. Is that what I understand? Apply for grants
Yeah.
according to
So
projects.
we have the public hearings to allow citizens to give any suggestions that they have for our application. And then we'll work on finishing up our plan and bring that to council for approval before we go to application. We have to have the public hearing first and receive input from the community if they want to.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else, council?
Have there been any new regulations or restrictions placed on this year that are different than previous years?
Well, not really new, but the last, I don't know, probably since 2014, we've been on the pre-approved applied LMI list. So we haven't had to go out for survey since about 2013 until this year. So we are going to be identifying the projects that we'd like to do, and we'll need to get the CDBG and the state to say that's okay, and they'll give us the area to survey. And then myself and, I don't know, we'll figure it out. We'll go survey that part of the city and see if we're qualified to do it. So before we were pre-approved, we could just kind of go ahead, and now we have to make sure that we qualify.
Okay. So-
And that qualification is based on where the area of the grant will
Yeah.
affect?
Yes, so
Okay.
before we were citywide, when we
Mhm.
did our survey, we were citywide, so we could do citywide projects. But when you go site specific, then there's a certain area, and they
Mhm.
will say, survey all these homes right here, or
Okay.
and make sure that it's in that LMI area.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
But we could do citywide again.
We could.
It would just broaden the scope of our survey, which
Mhm.
we're willing to do.
Yep, we are willing to do, but the projects that the team like Tom and Jake and Carlos and Claire on that team, we go through the CIP list, and for this year, we're really, the ones that are coming available are site specific, otherwise we would have done a citywide.
It'll be a little bit easier.
Yeah.
It'll
And
be-
we're thinking about doing a citywide survey in the spring anyway, just so that we're ready to go for next year.
Okay.
It's a lot of work, but
We'll do it.
14 over the last
Right.
14, 15 years, it's paid off. So it's worth the effort. Thank you, Amy, for all of your efforts. Thank you for that. No other questions. At this time, we'll turn it over to the public. Any comments on this particular item? Okay, seeing none. Oh, wait a minute, this is just, this is just on just on the public hearing.
What's that?
Just on the public hearing.
Public hearing?
Are you talking
Just on the CBDG.
just on the
Oh,
CBG?
Excuse me.
You have,
No, I don't have nothing.
you have a special
I
presentation.
got a special one.
Okay,
Very special.
okay. Thanks, Carrie. Okay, no public comment on the CDBG public hearing. Okay, we'll turn it back over to council. Any other follow-up questions, council? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Thank you, Amy, for keeping us right on track with that. That will move us to item number 7, citizen comments. And I'll bet we're gonna have 100% citizen comments tonight. So,
Yeah.
come forward, state your name and we'll listen to your comments. Thank you.
Amy Miller, Methodist Church. I have just a couple things I wanted to bring up. First of all, this Saturday, November 23rd, 5 p.m. is our community-wide Thanksgiving dinner. Free for the community. That has been advertised on the community Facebook page. So we're hoping there's always so much food, as you all know, at Thanksgiving dinner, there's a lot of food. So we're just encouraging, community families to come and share in that meal. And that's 5 p.m. on Saturday. And then I wanted to bring up a couple of December events because I will not be at the next meeting on the 3rd, leaving on the 3rd to go, guess where, back to Delaware.
Delaware,
So-
all right.
And I should mention that we've actually bought a house in Delaware.
Oh,
Congrats,
Oh.
but
That's
we'll
surprising.
be here till the end of January, so.
oh,
But now I have to go furnish a house.
We're
So,
sad.
good for you. Good
yeah,
for
well, it
you.
was bound to happen, right? I guess, I don't know. On December 7th, which is a Saturday, we have a children's for the community, for the kids. It's called Make It and Take It. It's a time where they can come together for about an hour and a half, play games, make crafts that they can take home and give to their families for Christmas. Is normally how that works. And so that will be from 3 to 4:30 in the afternoon on the Saturday.
You have age suggestions for them?
I would say elementary and down, probably any age. So, yeah. Bell concert once again, Sunday, December 8th. There will be a dinner at 5:30 if anyone's interested in that, and then a concert, the Bell concert's at 6:30 that evening. And then this year, doing something new there's so many people that travel out of state for Christmas. And so our new pastor, Josh, is having a traveler's Christmas Eve service. He's doing that on December 18th so that people can come and do a Christmas Eve service before they leave to go out of town for their journeys. There also will be a candlelight service on Christmas Eve as normal. And that will be at 7 p.m. on the 18th for the traveler's Christmas Eve, and also 7 p.m. for the candle lighting service on Christmas Eve. So wanted to make sure you all were all aware of that. And of course, everybody's invited. Everything's free all the time. So
Great.
thank
Okay.
you.
Amy, thank you so much. We appreciate your congregation, and you have something for every age all the time. So appreciate that.
Mayor.
We love you. That's
So
awesome.
Amy, will you be back one more time before you leave?
The end of January, probably January 20th.
So you'll be back. Yeah, okay.
Great. Okay. Well, that's awesome. Good for you.
That'll be good for
That'd
Who
be-
is gonna fill your shoes here?
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, Delaware's pretty cool, I guess. I don't know. All right, thank you. Anybody else?
Okay, Carrie Seal. I'm on the board, mosquito abatement board. And, mayor's asked me to be on that and represent the Terrace, and I've got some information. We went to a conference 3 weeks ago, I think it was, 4 weeks ago, down in St. George. The whole state was basically there. Talking about different things with the mosquitoes and how to kill them and how not to kill other plants and insects along with them and all that good stuff. Just some good information. I've took notes, do the report for the Weber County first. To be Weber County, there was, West Nile virus. There was 29 mosquitoes caught with West Nile, but only 4 had contaminated any livestock, which was 4 horses, and that was it. The calls for West Nile in different areas, there were, let's see, August, there was 2, September 3, and October 5. And so there was no cases other than, that's the ones when they do their testing, collecting mosquitoes and testing them, that's how many they found. But they didn't find anybody that was contaminated at that time. So Statewide, there was 11 West Nile cases. United States, there was a little over 1,200 cases. Okay, to the conference, David Bogget, I think this isn't how you pronounce it, Utah Public Health and Department, Infectious Diseases. He spoke, and that's where I got most of these notes from. Talking about mosquitoes and how they pass, you know, a mosquito in South America might bite somebody. A day later, they get on a plane, they fly here, there, and everywhere. They get off the plane, they get bit by another mosquito. That mosquito transfers it to somebody else. And in 1950, that took 7 airplane rides to get halfway around the world. For that same, it's called a optococcus mosquito. It's sort of a disease, special mosquito they get down in South America. And they found a case of it like halfway around the world in 1950, but they tracked it back, and it took 7 airplane rides in a week and a half to get there. But in today, in 2024, there's 25,000 flights per day. So that could transfer in one day halfway around the world. So that's why mosquitoes are always, everybody's trying to fight off and kill mosquitoes. Let's see. And back in 1950, there was 154 cases that they found of this specific mosquito. And today, there's over 10,000 cases. And even though they spray and kill, and they got different things that, you know, shots and things that they can give you for this specific mosquito, which is probably one of the worst ones, they said. It's very contagious, and it's not contagious. It transmits very fast through people, animals, chickens, horses, whatever. It can cause birth defects, and it's especially vulnerable with children, and it's caused over 1,000 children death in the last 5 years. And on to a brand new 20,000 acres in the Paiute Reservation, just started this year, a mosquito abatement. And their head of the reservation, their chiefs, whatever, they had no interest in it whatsoever. But then they started getting a lot of people getting very sick, a few of them dying, and they traced it back, and they finally convinced them it's mosquitoes that's doing it. So now they have their own little mosquito abatement area. It's just started up this year, and they got to try to cover 20,000 acres, which is a very difficult task, but they were there giving a presentation on what they're doing, and you know, they have to be bilingual, even the people who talk there in the mosquito abatement program, because they go out to all these little villages all over the place and try to educate. Here's one thing that really interested me, and I didn't know, was a mosquito egg larvae can live through the winter. So if you think it freezes and they die, that ain't the case. Most of them live, and they hatch out in the spring, and they're off and running. So if you have any little frozen ponds around your house, or in buckets, or tires are laying around with moisture in them, whatever, it freezes, as long as they can stick their little stout up and get air, they will live through the winter. So just a heads up, maybe pass that along to whoever. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Interesting. Thank you, Kerry. Thanks for serving on that board for us. Appreciate it. Interesting. It's crazy. West Nile. Okay, let's move on. Item number 8, item 8.1, presentation, discussion, transportation ordinance review.
You know, I appreciate Tyler and Lieutenant and Bill and Martin all working on revising our transportation ordinance so that it helps us be able to better serve the residents of the city with some of the challenges that we've had with parking particularly and other areas throughout this ordinance. So I appreciate them doing some really good diligent work to try to set this up to present to you for tonight for review. It will not be voted on tonight, but it will be considered, and edits and concerns will be taken back, put into final form and be brought to you for a approval in a future meeting. So we're kind of setting all this up, and Tyler is graciously working with us to kind of take the lead tonight. But if you have questions or need any support from his wingman over there, then they're ready to go. So we appreciate your help.
Yep,
It's all yours, Tyler.
well said.
How's that?
If I need to add anything. No, that's Tom hit it right on the head. I think well, I've been in the city for 5 years now. And the parking ordinance has always been quite a challenge. And enforcement's really challenging, and for lack of better words, kind of being able to work around the ordinance that's written to be able to park and kind of get away with it is the way our ordinance currently stands. It's very easy to, with certain aspects. And so in further discussion, as staff, we felt like there was a pretty significant need to completely rewrite it. And Tom asked, our city manager asked us to form a committee. So us three have formed a committee to go through, and then we also had Bill help us with writing this and then taking us three with the ordinance that Bill wrote and going through there and trying to help to enforce the issues that we have. I can go through some of those different issues that we keep running into and how we're correcting it with this ordinance, but I know I was late getting this to you, so I don't know how much you've read through it, but we're open to any questions that you have and trying to make this a formal discussion and then roll into corrections and approval with it.
Okay, thank you. Well, I had a chance to read it. I think we all hopefully had a chance to read this, so it's pretty tight, that's for sure, pretty strict. So my question is, we talk about parking here on page 8. I guess that's kind of where we're gonna focus anyway. The rest of it is just, whatever, speeding and whatever, right? So I guess the part that we're mainly considering is probably page 8, and then of course the winter parking. But it doesn't look like the winter parking has really changed that much. Okay,
It didn't change at all.
I did notice there was a $50 fine on there somewhere for something. Is that going to pertain to winter parking now? Where was that fine? Didn't highlight it.
Yeah, the penalty on page 10 on 4, the violation penalty is $50 per parking violation. But
Yeah, there it is. Okay, yeah. So
That's
is
the
that
minimum.
if this is passed, will that roll over and onto winter parking? Also?
I would recommend it.
Okay, okay,
And then you would make a change to the fee schedule for that
Right.
fine.
all right.
Cause
Okay.
currently it's $15, 10.
$10, I thought, which is,
Yep.
doesn't matter. And I have one other question. So anything we're talking about in this parking area or winter parking area, which one of those gentlemen are responsible for
The one in the badge.
the one with the back? So this, so anything on a yard or off the street is Martin. And anything on the street would be the sheriff's department.
Yep. And to reiterate what you're alluding to a little bit, we have also discussed, and we see a couple other cities doing a little bit different processes to this too, where Martin would go out and put something on the vehicle. And then that would be acceptable to the sheriff's department to help them to start their
Oh, okay.
their enforcement on it. So like in West Haven City, they do an orange sticker. And Dan Tanner, their code enforcement officer, goes out and puts that sticker on the windshield in violation. And it's kind of a warning, but it's also like, you know, if you see that orange thing and it's been on there for 2 days, there's an issue there.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so yes, they ultimately, the law enforcement is
Okay.
who's in this code is written
Okay.
to take it to court, but it's starting with the code enforcement as well. And staff, and I think even to, the way that we used to do it in Bountiful City is even the snow plowing staff, can also slap a sticker on a car and say, hey, this is an issue. So kind of a team effort, and that's really what parking is.
Right, right. Martin, do you have any of those orange hangers that we're gonna? Yeah, you have some of those that you could after, and you could show them what we're gonna be putting on the cars this year. I like what you've done where you put kind of the entire current ordinance on the back of that orange paper that explains it more fully. Just that one little paragraph doesn't quite cut it, but when they can read the whole ordinance. So if you can get those before you leave and pass out to us so we can see what's going on out there. So, so the winter parking is not not what I'm worried about. Well, I am worried about it because it's an issue every year. And so it gets to be really tough, but I guess where we start is probably on page 5, 1009-030, right? So
Oh, you mean 8?
page 8, yeah. First of all, you have parking on any road is limited to a resident, owner, or occupant, or their invitee. The following are prohibited from parking on any road, public right of way, or city property at any time. Any recreational vehicle, boat, trailer of any kind, any dump truck, heavy equipment, or any other object of any kind, except for use on a boom, bona fide utility project, road project, whatever. So, could we add on to that recreational vehicle, boat or boat trailer of any kind, and maybe a motor home? Would that be a recreational vehicle? I guess that would be a recreational
Mhm. An RV,
vehicle.
they call 'em.
That would be an RV, I think.
Okay, a motor home, a self-contained unit, that would fall in, okay,
I had a point on that one, if I might.
sure, yeah.
In other areas, you said unless it's being loaded or unloaded, could that also be the case here? If somebody is prepping to go on a vacation or something and doing that, if they're getting the boat finalized or washing it down after bringing it in or whatever. I don't know that we need to run up and say, you're on the street, get out,
Yeah.
Yeah,
was
no, we
I would
have that.
assume we're gonna have some leniency on those kind of situations, but just, it's, what we're talking about, if it's parked and left there, it's a problem.
And currently, the code is 72 hours. So put that into perspective just to think about this, just from just simple numbers. 72 hours, meaning that someone goes, that probably chances are good they don't have their RV at their house. And they bring it in and then they park it in front of their house. And then over the next 2 to 3 days, they put the slides out and they are loading it slowly but surely. That's the problem.
Mhm.
And, and from a safety standpoint, our roads are not wide enough to allow that to happen for a long period of time. And so that's, this ordinance, and Mayor hit it right on the head a few minutes ago when he said that it's aggressive. That's the challenge that we run into is we have people parking all over the place and they have trailers that are unattached. And they have this, I'm not even here on the weekend, and I know for a fact that it changes on the weekend just with how many more things are parked in the roads. And so it becomes it's a lot easier for us to be able to go out there and say like, we've seen your trailer out here for 2 days, it's gotta move. Rather than say, okay, Callie, mark the curb. I probably shouldn't say how they do it, but they go out and mark a tire and then they mark the asphalt and kind of see if it moves. And then if it's noticed after 2 days, we get a complaint, we go out, 72 hours starts, because that's the first time we've seen it. Now we have almost a whole week of a trailer sitting there. That's the challenge. And that's why I think based off of the 5 years that I've been here, I think that, and we've gone back and forth with this, but I think that it either needs to be way reduced or not allowed at all unless they're actively engaged in something, loading, unloading, like a moving van at their house and they're coming in and out, taking stuff out, that kind of thing. Now, I think I think that something that's really important here is that our law enforcement is very much complaint based and our code enforcement is very much complaint based. So that being said, the likelihood of someone being able to have their trailer on the road for longer than a day or two is pretty high, unless we happen to get a complaint or we drive by it and notice it's a safety issue. So I like this. My recommendation on this is to make it so it's nothing unless they're actively engaged, because the likelihood of us seeing it anyways the first day it's out there is very slim. Or getting a complaint from their neighbor or from the school or wherever it comes from.
So you would not alter the verbiage in it right now and just leave it at that and recognize it? That if it is an active loading or whatever you're saying, we can see that it's active, then we just could say, okay, how much longer are you gonna be doing this or something?
So, but what's an active? That's where I'm concerned. If you've got to get it the night before, after you get off work, you start loading the next day. Like you said, people aren't going to complain about it that quickly. But in the off chance it happens, we do have some very aware citizens. We have, if it gets noticed by law enforcement. If we don't have the verbiage in there to protect the citizens that need that, then I'm concerned.
Yeah.
We do like something in 24 hours.
So go back to that same thought process that once we get the complaint, then it's marked and that's when the 24 hours starts. And so it's challenging, but I'm pretty familiar with the way that our sheriff's department operates. I've dealt with them now I've been in Weber County for almost 10 years and they are not a immediate fine enforcement. They are find out who the owner is and go and talk to them and tell them this is against ordinance. And so they, I don't think any of us really operate in that way of like, slam the hammer down.
I understand it's kind of like a wishy-washy area. Is there
Yeah.
any way to like, because when you're reading it, it sounds like that. Is there any way to make the
Right, like
language a little lenient?
if I'm a citizen and I want to check before I buy an RV and I read this, I think, heck, I gotta move. Like, it's really hard.
Mhm.
And I appreciate the reasoning of it, but I know there's citizens who are gonna be aware and I want to make sure that they know we realize you don't have somewhere to store your trailer on site. There is, and I don't know that it's able to be communicated in here, but
So one aspect to think about as well on this is the majority of our streets. I wish Jake was here so he could give me this number better. but the majority of our streets in this city are not wide enough to have a trailer and two cars pass. So, our responsibility as the public officials
Mhm.
is to make sure that we are providing safety, and that's our first and foremost focus, especially in my department.
Mhm.
And so I think that's a really important aspect, like, because the problem, and we're specifically talking about RVs, but the problem with any of this is that if they don't get right up on that curb, then if we have emergency services, which is a wider vehicle than normal, they can't get by. And then Jake, or not Jake, our fire chief, you know, he's like, well, I would just sit there and honk the horn until they come out. And I'm like, well, he said that being funny, but
Mhm.
the reality is that is a concern, is we do have streets right now that if you go down them, probably this time of night, you're one lane.
Mhm.
So and I think it gives you, again, and well, it comes across as very much a, you know, rule with the iron fist, but I think that I feel like that almost needs to be this, because we need to be able to like have him be, the sheriff's department be able to go out there and say like, this needs to be moved right now. This is a safety issue. Are they gonna do that if it's a 2-lane road and there's lots of room? I don't know. They might be more workable, but does that need to be written in ordinance?
And do we
Question.
have that, sorry,
No, go ahead.
no, I was saying, like,
Go
do
ahead.
we have the language, like, if it's actively being used, is someone
Mhm.
loading or unloading? I
Mhm.
don't.
Right here at 2. And right here, let's see,
Utility.
special
project
parking
road.
regulations 2. And
If we
then,
add that language, maybe it will sound a little less harsh.
Mhm.
Question for you, and Garth, maybe this might be one for you. We've had a challenge when the tires are marked, streets marked, trailers moved 6 inches. It's now been moved in 24 hours.
Yeah.
6 inches. The loophole is very, very active,
Mhm.
and the trailer stays there. He cannot write a citation on that because it has moved. Yet the trailer's been there for a week, every 6 inches,
Mhm.
whatever that looks like. So that's, you know, I don't know where that would land, but that's a challenge that we're trying to resolve, is the loophole. And yeah, it comes across a little harsh.
Yeah, that is correct. I would agree with that, and that's some of the wording in the ordinance, why it is as strict as it is. That was some of the problems that we had with the way, when we initially looked at the original ordinance and was trying to make changes, it became problematic because things conflicted with one another, and that's why we ended up going this route with it. There's still a few things. There's been some changes that we haven't reviewed together that have just been, that's part of what you received today. That we haven't all had a chance to really sit down and look at, and that's kind of what we've been talking about over here on the side. So there are still a couple of things that I've just noticed as well that I think we need to look at a little further, in addition to what we've already done, just so you're aware of that. But one of them would be under 10.930 and 10.940. I was just noticing that there are provisions for loading and unloading under the special parking limitation, but there are not under the regular parking. And I think that needs to be corrected. I think there should be that provision under both of those. So there's a couple of other things too that I think we probably could look at, but.
So that we could get it for the record, what would that recommendation be? And then we can follow up on it later so that Tyler's not trying to make a specific note, but we can get it in the minutes.
So under 10.930, parking, there is no provision for loading and unloading. But under 10.940, the special parking limitation specifically to business and commercial vehicles, there are provisions for loading and unloading. The problem that I see with that is under 10.930, you have recreational vehicles, boats, trailers, and such. I think it's reasonable to expect that people could park those vehicles on a roadway while they're loading and unloading to prepare for a trip or whatever it might be. I think it's reasonable to have that provision in there.
I like that.
Thank you.
Now, I think that's the easy part. Recreational vehicles, boats. Trailer of any kind is gonna come down also to business and commercial parking. There on business, you have no home business vehicles. Work vehicle, utility trailer or similar vehicle or trailer shall be parked on city road at any time. So I know 20 years ago, that's how it was written. If you had a placard on the side of your truck and it said, whatever, Rocky Mountain Power, that was your work truck, we didn't allow it on the road. Ever. But times have kind of changed a little bit, and you see those all the time. People are bringing their work trucks home with them, and people are, parking them in their driveway, or they're parking them on the road, or they're parking, and I don't know myself, I don't know that that's really too big of an issue. I do have an issue when it's a landscape vehicle, and then they have a 30-foot trailer on the back of their truck and they park it on the road. But according to our current ordinance, if it's attached, it's okay, it can be there. And I can see that's gonna be a problem on some of these utility trailers, these work trailers. I know there's a group on, down the street that aluminum siding trailers, right? And, every night they're parked on the road. Well, they probably never detach their truck until the weekend. But should we allow somebody who's trying to make a living, should we say you can't park that trailer ever on the road? Or you can't park that commercial truck on the road?
Or the work vehicle that your work says, this is what you have to drive to and from your workplace.
Right, and I don't mind the work truck, it's just when you start getting the work truck and the work trailer and the work,
But the work. is not allowed.
and the whole, you're bringing everything home with you. Now, we did have to really tighten up, if you recall, years and years ago on tow trucks. But they were bringing those tow trucks that were so big, they park in front of those small lots and they take up a lot and a half. It'd be on their property and then half of the other neighbor's property, and that was a big nuisance, because it was those huge tow trucks, and but we had to disallow those. So,
Question about that. Tyler, do you know if there is rules, so to speak, that if you have a home business and your vehicle is deemed as a business vehicle, can it also be used for your family vehicle? Or do they have to be separate? I don't know that, but, because if you did have a vehicle that you use for work, but it's also a family vehicle, I wondered about that.
I have that personally,
Okay, so,
and I use it for everything, so.
so we said in the ordinance here that if it's the personal vehicle, it can be parked out front. So what if it's the business vehicle, but it's also a personal vehicle? Would that just have to be addressed on an individual basis?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be something you would want to address in here, because like the mayor was saying, you have your vehicles that are business vehicles. That was presumed being identified as a business vehicle by signage on it. This is different. The vehicle's registered as a business vehicle, but they're using it for personal as well. So I think you would probably want to clarify that up in this ordinance as well. That was one of the other issues I noted on there.
And how would you do that? How would you clarify that? Because I mean, if I'm a Mary Kay consultant and I have my sticker in my window, that looks like my business vehicle, but it's also my personal vehicle.
depending on the way it's worded, and I haven't had a chance to review some of these new changes in here, but I think it's, the way it was written before, when we looked at it, I think that was being addressed in the verbiage as far as trailers. Because trailers in general are not allowed. That was the bigger concern. As the mayor stated, trucks necessarily aren't the concern. There is wording in here that states that work trucks are not allowed. So that would, I think you would want to maybe define that, because is the problem that it's a business vehicle, or is it the type of vehicle that is the problem? So I think the type of vehicle would be the more appropriate way to address that. And I think you do that through the verbiage that's in here as far as trailers. And then the other one would be, what is a work vehicle? Is it something that's registered to a business, or is it something that has toolboxes and, such on the bed, or, what are we really concerned about? Because somebody could have that, in theory, that could be their personal vehicle as well. I'm sure there's some that use that as a small business and for family stuff, so.
You know, and I'm not too concerned about work via a work truck, whether it's your business or whether you're driving it home, because, you're allowed to drive it home. I'm not really that worried about it until it becomes a semi-truck or semi-trailer. Then it's absolutely not. Or a
Dually, that's
tow
very
truck.
wide.
Well, yeah, dually, it's out there. I don't know.
But,
You know.
well, let's go back to the intent of this discussion tonight. This started because of trailers. It started
Right.
because of trailers that were parked on city streets that were not in a residential zone, but were commercial, but our ordinance wasn't allowing us to enforce anything with it. And it was becoming an issue because they didn't own the property, they just parked there.
Is the issue only trailers?
Specifically, like, that's what got this conversation
Right,
going.
so can we bake the language in a way that if it's like additional stuff attached to the main vehicle, so that kind of covers all the trailers, or if it's a tow truck, or size, like length?
We have size right now, and that is a current, the way it's written with vehicles
Okay.
and weight. I
And
think it's like,
it doesn't work if there's a certain length?
yeah, but it doesn't work with trailers. Because that didn't, so trailers was very specific to commercial. And not being able to park a commercial trailer in a residential zone. That's one of the reasons why we try to put this all together.
So you
Right.
guys will work on that.
Yeah, I think the weight side of it is not a bad way to go, because I think, let's just do an example, would be a police officer, they drive their vehicle home, and is it a bad thing to have a police truck sitting on the road at night?
No, that's a good
Not
thing,
at all.
see? Yeah, that's a good.
So,
So that's my concern is a vehicle. I don't care if it's a work vehicle, I don't care if it's but the nuisance seems to be, and what I hear every week, that, it's those stupid trailers parked there. It's all those trailers, and that's, and so, but there's so many recreational trailers, these little trailers that I don't think anybody would ever even take them out. I don't know why they keep a trailer like that, but they have nowhere to put it. You see it parked on the grass and they pull it off the grass, they put it on the street for 2 or 3 weeks, and they just sell the darn trailer. You never use it, but they have to have a place to put it. But
The other thing that came with that one, if I might, is if it is a business vehicle parked on the road because they are servicing a house at that location. So if they are
yeah,
actually coming to a home to perform a business or a service for them with their business, they park on the street, to perform the service, and then they come back out and find they've been towed because they can't park on the street, but they were there for business
Yeah,
purposes for a
but
time.
we know a deputy's never gonna do that.
But
Is that currently
my
allowed?
point is, you see what my point is that they're actually going to a home to do a business.
Yeah,
I think it's in there.
yeah, there was, but But,
But
yeah, I'm like Tyler, I know our deputies that, I mean, that is common sense, you're not. Right.
And while I appreciate that, like knowing that, I feel like there's a protection for the city and the citizens where it's got to be more defined, because 10 years down the road, none of us are gonna be here, and they're gonna be reading this, and the conversation's could be vastly different because of that. We've got to make sure that in our record, there's a way that we can address the fact that we're nice people and we're gonna work with you, because that's what we're supposed to do as a city, is work with the people who live here.
Oh, these. Yeah,
so those are things to look, that would be
yeah,
brought to attention to make sure that those considerations are, I like how Jill stated it, somehow that we are recognizing that, so that it, no matter who reads this ordinance, whether it's today or 5 years from now, 10 years from now, it makes sense to them, and those, they're respected for those things.
Right.
so. So council, how do you all feel about utility trailers or work trailers on a street? Whether it's first, if it's unattached every night, and then they take off and go do their thing in their truck, and they leave the trailer parked there all the time. Or whether it's there with the truck attached, and then they jump in another car and go do their thing, but the truck and trailer are attached, ready for the next morning. What are your feelings on that? What?
So I feel like there's a big play in what that could be, right? There's the work vehicles that's happening with, and it's parking for work. But then I think in my personal situation, I have 2 utility trailers for personal use and for the 501c that I'm a part of. And there's times when I've got to get them out on the street so I can shuffle them
Yeah.
and leave them for a few hours. I know it's not allowed overnight, so I don't let it go overnight, but there's times when we need to be able to have some flexibility with that so that I can make it function and work. And this does not allow for any of that. And that concerns me. I really like that we're being very specific about trailers that are commercial sized or for commercial purposes. That's something that you, as setting up your business, you need to provide a space for. Just like when you're buying yourself a recreational trailer,
Exactly.
you find a place to park it. The street isn't an acceptable place to put your work trailer. I completely agree with that, but there's a lot of play in what kind of utility trailers exist in the world. And that isn't very well, it's hard to address, but we need to give some consideration to that, in my mind.
Okay. See, and for you to move, yeah, for you to shuffle trailers and leave them out there and, you know, I don't know, for the day, whatever, but, you know, if you're gonna leave that little trailer out there for a week and a half, you know, somebody may call and say something, and, but you know, you're not gonna do that, and you don't intend on doing that. You just intend on putting it out there and shifting it around, and you shouldn't really worry about that.
Right.
Imagine if the policeman drives by and you say, hey, that's, you know, come knocking on your door saying, I'm just shuffling. He said, oh yeah, I've never seen it out here before, but I just happened to see it here.
Right.
So, but I kind of know what you're saying.
You know, we could take a look and see how that could be drafted in, because I see how even just for this one small instance, Jill puts herself in a catch-22 with this ordinance, and not just for her, but for the general public. People have to shuffle, especially when you consider some of the size of our lots. You'll have a trailer or a couple stacked in on solid surface as they need to be, and they've got to do some stuff. They got to run and get the thing. They got to come back, hook up the truck again, then they're good to go. But there might be some small amount of time where those would be safely on the street. Disconnecting a trailer can be a hazard. because there's no control of that trailer once it's disconnected. But there is kind of a catch-22 by not allowing some kind of language, and Garth, we probably need some help with this. How does that language look? So that it, for those instances where people need to live their life, how do they work? What we're trying to avoid is that loophole. We're constantly dealing with the loophole. As described by Jill, that's not a loophole, that's just dealing with a functional aspect of trailer ownership in an environment where it's pretty tight. And so, in how, it's not no, but how do we find that language that works so that we're not creating another loophole? If we come back with some language that way, does that make, is that gonna land? Does that make sense? You know, because I don't know what that language looks like. I can't even come up with a recommendation right now, Tyler. But I don't know what that, I don't know, and I understand what the mayor's saying. Yeah, we're not gonna hurry up and hammer somebody because of that. There have been instances in the past where that has been a problem. We have a gentleman that comes to City Hall occasionally, or excuse me, council meetings occasionally. That is actually what is one of the challenges that he has historically, is that they were unloading, they were moving some stuff, and it may have been just to dealing with his 3-wheeler or 4-wheeler or something, but it was still that kind of a thing where they were just moving stuff around. So yeah, it makes sense. I don't know how that writes, Tyler. I don't know how that looks.
But in the past, and Tyler knows this, and Garth probably knows this, and even Martin, I mean, you know, we've allowed trailers on the road overnight if they're hooked to a truck. Or we've allowed them, you know, whatever,
For private use.
for private use or even businesses, really, if it's their business,
Yeah.
you know, whatever, but then, I don't know, but then what they do is every time they pull their, you know, but you know, sure enough, they'll leave the trailer there for a week, but every time they come home, they back the truck up to look like it's hooked to the trailer, right? And, you know, so they're just playing the game, you know? I don't know.
What,
I don't know.
number one thing, what is the purpose of this ordinance is for safety? That's the number one reason for this parking ordinance. It's not because they're ugly. It's not because somebody just doesn't like and park there. It's safety. And what you were saying is we've got roads that you have sidelines that are being blocked with this. You have the width of the road that is not allowable there. So I think if we keep every aspect of this ordinance in mind of safety purposes, that's the key. How do you write the language so that it fits safety purposes? I mean, even if you're unloading a trailer and it's right next to the stop sign, that's not okay. You know, if it's short or not, that's a safety issue. So as you're looking at all of the aspects of this, just keep in mind, the focus is the safety issue here. Why are we looking at this? It's not just that it's unsightly. It's not that it's just in the way. It's truly a safety issue. So that's my point with your question there, Mayor. What does it matter? The safety issue is the thing I think that we just need to keep in the forefront.
One of the challenges we have in here is that even with that 24 hours is people loopholing it. If you have a utility trailer and you're kind of actively loading, you know, unloading it, putting your gear in, getting it ready for an activity, we have been told, well, fine, I'll take my sticker off my trailer and now it's a recreational trailer for whatever I want, yet it's stacked with their business. We don't have a search warrant to open their trailer and see what's inside there. Therefore, we run into another challenge of that creating the loophole that, okay, we're gonna let them have them on there for 24 hours. That person can then leave for the day, come back, reset 24. Leave for the day, come back, reset 24. It never ends. And then they're there as long as they like, and still the hazard remains. Our intent, as expressed, is the family's going on a camping trip. They want to load their gear, they get going, and they're gone in a few hours. Good to go, no problem. but they're gonna play it. The challenge is we absolutely will have a problem with people using the, and I'm just thinking about this in the past, but going forward, is that 24-hour loop, that's a reset every single day. And that will not, that'll be a loophole that we would be providing on the 24th. Yes, it's reasonable. In our minds, we're saying that would be reasonable, absolutely, to have people be able to load the trailer. I don't know how to write that so that for those who are legitimately just living their life, loading the trailer, gonna go and then they're gonna leave, versus those who want to use the streets, have the hazard, and have their business occupy the city's, the public right of way for their business parking. And without search warrants and other things, I have to imagine, and Lieutenant, you can tune me up if you want. Without a search warrant, there's no proof. You cannot, then you may want to cite them, but I guarantee our prosecutor's gonna say, I don't have anything. It's a trailer. There's no proof what that trailer is. We may all know what that trailer is, but that doesn't prove it for a court of law.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that going back to that 10-930 and 10-940, if you were to put a provision in there under the parking for the 2-hour access that would address trailers and whatever other vehicles like the recreational vehicles. So in subparagraph 1 of 10-930, you have any recreational vehicle, boat or trailer of any kind for more than 2 hours. Something to that effect. I think that would create that provision because now you're negating the 24-hour loophole, but you're having a 2-hour thing, or you could even maybe make that an hour for those types of vehicles, extend it a little more for the special parking limitations for commercial and business, but for personal recreational vehicle, boat or trailer, make that an hour, that way. Correct, yeah.
Okay, work on that for us, will you?
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Sorry, I have more questions.
Yes, Jill,
So
please.
moving on to 2, maybe or 3, I can't remember. I'm thinking of those big like ABF trailers, when you're moving and you rent a space in a semi-trailer, they come and park it at your street for a week so you can load it up, and you're completely at the business's disposal when they're gonna come and pick it up. How is that something that we probably don't see it a lot, but like, is that something that we're gonna find a problem with here? Do we need to address that somehow?
I think that would fall under the spirit of the law. And
Okay.
that's where, when enforcement comes to, we have the written law, the letter of the law, and we have the
Mhm.
spirit of the law. And kind of going back to your concern earlier, you can have an ordinance that's pretty restrictive,
Mhm.
but still circumstances like that, deputies are trained and they know that the spirit of the law isn't to address an issue like that. You
Mhm.
know what I mean?
Right.
So they're gonna roll up, and that's why we try to contact the owners first,
Mhm.
have a conversation before we cite or impound vehicles. And so I think in the spirit of the law, understanding the spirit of what the ordinance is for is important, and that can be written in there as well. But it's generally not. That's kind of a subjective area that's left up to the discretion of the officer at that point in time, so.
Mhm. So I'm gonna step back a little bit. We're talking before our meeting about an ordinance that we're talking about being very strict about. We're not gonna have any sort of leeway. And then this one we're talking about, but this one we can have a little bit of leeway with. So I've got a disconnect going on between the two, because how do we write in our ordinance? Well, this one we have to be super strict with, and this one we don't have to be super strict with. I feel like that's disingenuous to say, well, our chicken ordinance is really rigid. We're not gonna have any leeway on that. But our parking ordinance, we can have leeway. Now, understanding wise, I get why. I understand that. But as we're presenting ourselves as a city to people, it seems very not a straight front if we can say, well, this one we're gonna be enforcing exactly, and this one we're not, and I'm a little concerned about that. I don't know how we're gonna write that in. That's why I keep bringing it up, is because we've just spent an hour talking about this that is super important that we get it right. But that we're gonna enforce strictly. And this one, we keep talking about, you've spent months getting it right. But there's gonna be some leeway. Do you see my concern, or am I just up in the night? That happens.
Well, we had this situation happen around a neighborhood that I was very familiar with, and people, a couple of houses were having some work done and they dropped a couple of those pods. You know, just dropped the pods because they had to empty out their basement, put them in the pod. And for a week, they had to go in and do work on the house. And I said, well, geez, you know, I said, you can't. And I went out and I said, can you put those on the driveways? And the pod guys, well, it won't fit under the carport or, you know, something. So I said, well, okay. But I said, let's contact, you know, the sheriff's department. You contact the sheriff's department, say, here's the situation. And then I said, will you please get some cones and put on the end of that pod because it's out there, right? I don't know if it had any reflectors on it or anything. So, you know, so something like that, maybe we put in there. Yeah, but I realize they put those pods there and people load them up and it's gonna take more than 24 hours.
Yeah, I had them in a month at my driveway
Yeah,
for
so-
a live project last year.
So, you know, maybe we could put something like that in there, pods or moving, I don't know, and make that very strict and say, please call the authorities and let them know what you're doing and let's keep that safe though. Let's put cones around it or something. And please don't do it in the winter, so our snowplows have to go around it, right? Or something.
If pods are not addressed in here, and I don't know that they are or not, they should be, because in winter, they should not be on the roads.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's what I just thought of.
They're not
And
addressed.
at all.
Yeah.
And they should have a very detailed explanation of how they can or cannot be used. If we had an environment where they could be on the individual's driveway for that environment, that would actually be much more appropriate than being on the street. at
Sure.
all. Given the fact, however, I understand, you know, we're in a situation when someone needs a pod, it goes on their driveway, that ends up pushing all of their cars out on the street.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
that's true. But,
you know,
yeah, there's gonna be
There's
crazy
Right.
circumstances. You know, but
individual circumstances will arise that have to be dealt with and as a situational need. I think in this way, it's this way it is gonna be.
look at that committee just working together there, doing their job.
I have another question.
but, you know, this,
Looks like they're.
They're serious.
this conversation definitely is a type that normally would be in a work session.
Mhm.
However, it's on the agenda because
Yeah,
we need to keep rolling.
yeah. Well, no,
And
we got-
so
No, I
the
like it.
dialogue will be a little looser during this than,
We have something
we
in
normally
writing.
would.
I like that. And it's not gonna matter in 2 weeks because we're on our winter
Mhm.
parking lot. And that really hasn't changed much.
It's on the.
So, but this is gonna,
That's the new revision.
we could have this done by March.
So storage containers.
Storage containers.
It's
Oh,
under 10-940. It doesn't say pod specifically, but,
thank you.
oh, this isn't the one they have.
I don't know which one they have. There's,
I didn't see it on mine.
it's a live document, so.
So under 10-940 subparagraph 2, second sentence says or storage container.
Oh, there it is.
But
And
again,
that's
that's
under
under
2
commercial.
hours.
except when actively loading or unloading. And, I mean, so you just go
Yeah,
out.
but it
keep
only
loading
gets you
it
the 2
24
hours.
So how do you define actively loading and unloading?
So if you're loading it one
Pod.
day and you load it again the next day.
I have had a personal, well, not a personal experience, it was actually an issue with one in the city,
Mhm.
and I called the pod company and they moved it. So I don't know
Yeah, I think that was
I actually didn't even deal with the homeowner. I went right to the,
right.
and I've done it with the dumpster too. They had a dumpster in the road and I said, can't have that in the road, and they moved it.
Wasn't that down on Ridge Line? I think it was
Yeah,
down
we've-
on 500
I've
West.
had a handful of dumpsters.
And it was, I mean, that's a narrow road anyway, to put a
Yeah.
dumpster out there.
So I even wonder if those pods are, insured to be parked on the road. I don't know. That's a good, but I've never had any problem when I usually go, rather than going to the homeowner, I usually will go right to whatever company's on the site and say, you need to move your trailer. It's not allowed on the road.
Well, and there it is right there. It's covered and says you can't park it on the street unless, you can only park on the street for 2 hours.
Yep.
So at least we have it there and say, hey, 2 hours is up, you gotta move that.
But if that's where your stuff is for your project for a
Well, I
week,
know.
and then the company comes and moves
Well, no.
and breaks all
But maybe,
process of doing, it.
well, but if they ask, if they, say,
Right.
can we park this in the road? Well,
Right.
no, it should be in the
We-
driveway. And then,
We do cover that on 3. Did you see that? Construction and emergency parking on any road or public property is allowed for approved and or permitted construction projects or emergency repairs actively being completed. So, I mean, I guess
Okay,
if they
it's
have,
not on the one I'm looking at, so.
if they have a
Oh.
permit at the house,
oh, yeah, there you go.
then maybe it's saying they can, but I'm, maybe because I'm in code enforcement too,
Mhm.
every time I see it, if they have it out there,
Mm-hmm,
they gotta move it because the stormwater pollution program doesn't allow them to have a dumpster on the road.
oh, okay.
So
Okay. Cheryl?
On 10-9-40, number 3, believe we may have some problems with the 30 feet to any driveway. We have many of our homes that their front yard's not 30 feet. Not only that, you have 2 driveways that are side by side with each other. That's going to be, it is not feasible to have that in our city. Right,
Mhm.
so that would be another area to look at and see how it has to be
I think-
rewritten
I
or
think there's a
addressed.
spot in here, I'm trying to remember, I read it. That talks about, our public works director being the director and can make determinations on safety. Where was that? And he can determine if there's an issue. Again, it's subjective to what they like or don't like, so. It's a little bit tough.
That 30 feet is, I understand the reasoning behind it, but we have lots of situations like that.
Yeah, they may not work. Well, council, we've got to give them direction on, I think on trailers, I think that's what started this whole thing. So a work trailer for a construction worker, for a landscaper, for whatever, parks it there every night, goes to work every morning, every night, every morning, every night, every morning. Is that okay? A truck and a trailer, is that okay? For somebody who's trying to make a living and parks it right in front of his house and,
For safety reasons,
I mean,
with what we stated, I don't think
if it's not, blocking fire access or any of these restricted areas. I don't think it should be tapped at any time. I don't think trailers should be tapped.
yeah, because that's actually a real safety issue. Leave a detached trailer on a road for 60 days or 30 days. It's probably not a good idea.
But if it's attached to the vehicle, it's used on a daily basis. And it can be parked in their property.
Well, if it can be parked
In a
on,
safe-
in front of their
in a safe
property,
way.
yeah.
And that's the issue, could it be parked safely for some period of time?
Yeah, we started going down a rabbit hole with it a little bit, trying to decide if we could, trying to decide if we could go measure roads and if your road's this, but then we get into the issue of we have bigger roads on parts of town than on others, and so we kind of stopped talking about that and got to the point of where it was just, it became very just cut and dry. And that's the hard thing about any ordinance is it's not a one size fits all, even though it is. It doesn't work for everyone, and that's always the challenge is you try to cover the group and, but I think, you know, what we're looking for is just to have a formal discussion and then receive direction from you guys tonight, which has been fantastic, and I think there's some really good points that we need to discuss. And then, bringing a really solid draft back to maybe a work session. And decide if we want to entertain going into a completely different ordinance.
Okay. Let's do that.
Mayor, just one other comment on that.
Yes, please.
I didn't really see it in here, but I don't know that we need to have a permit for this, but an authorization, you know, somebody, they've just bought a new trailer and they're excited about it. And they want to park it. Do we need to have them get it approved? Saying, okay, you had a 28-foot trailer, now you got a 30-foot trailer. The 28 was fine, the 30 is now causing a problem. You know, I mean, what, is that something that you consider? I mean, how do you do that?
We talked about that a little bit, about trying to run down a process of permitting.
Yeah.
And it's similar to the chicken ordinance. It becomes a little
Yeah.
bit of a.
They don't necessarily need a
additional burden
permit,
to
but
staff.
they need to, yeah. You know, you can only, you know, if you buy a new truck and trailer rig, you've got 31 feet in front of your house that you can use. You go beyond that, you got a problem.
Yep.
So, I don't know how to.
And the
Most of that.
legislator deregulated home-based businesses, what, 5 years ago, I mean?
Yeah,
And made it so, you know, if it's an allowed use, they can do it in their house without us even being
without,
involved in it.
exactly.
And so that gets really challenging, because I have businesses that come in that I know are gonna have a trailer based off of what they're doing. And that, you know, handling that in a way to say, you don't have to have a license, but you need to keep the trailer off the road. And you really can't impose conditions anymore. So unless they have visiting clientele.
So I think one important question that we need clarification on is, Mayor brings up a good question. If they have a truck and trailer, and they drive it home every night, it parks there overnight, and then it may or may not leave the next day, or throughout the weekend, it stays on that property. When we're looking at the complaints that we've had, it's been a result of people who have home-based businesses, regardless of what kind it is, truck, trailer, and they're there essentially during the evening and afternoons, whatever, weekends, when the people in the neighborhood are traveling throughout the neighborhood after work or whatever, and we get the complaints for those. What are your thoughts on how you guys would like to address those? And is that a problem? Because that's an area that we've been getting the complaints on, and the challenge I think that we've been getting. So we'd welcome some input on what that language could look like, if we're going to allow them to come and park and use the road for their business parking. I'm not talking about their camper shell on their truck or their panel van or something like that. But the utility trailers that are a line of sight challenge, also for safety and the appearance of the neighborhood. They do impact the environment that they're in. So we would welcome some direction so that we can bring it back to you for consideration for how do you want to allow those? Or is this something that, you know, are we missing something?
If it's a safety issue,
Yeah.
then definitely should be a concern. Because if you're referring to the emails, like sometimes it's on the line of sight and you can see the stop sign. If it becomes an issue like that, that's a safety concern.
That, yeah,
We cannot allow that.
But then,
It's a safety concern.
so now I'm confused, Tyler. So we can't regulate home-based businesses with their trailers. So is that why we're going hard on this, is because then we just have all trailers or no?
Yeah,
Because we can't really dive into saying no home-based business trailers on the road because the state has said we can't do that?
well,
Is that what I'm
that's a
understanding?
big part for sure.
Okay,
Well, Jill, the intent of the law is that we can't govern the business that is in the home. So you've got a person that's they have a quilting company, fine. They have a construction company, fine. That does not dictate what we allow on the street. So we can govern what happens on the street. We don't govern what they do in their home
Okay.
office.
okay, I just
whatever
wanted to make
that is.
sure I understood if the state was saying we can't govern that they park on the street, or if that is allowed. I wasn't sure. by
No,
the
the state
comments.
governs the fact that we can't, that we have restrictions on how we regulate home-based businesses,
Okay,
but that stops at the curb.
okay,
We then regulate what happens from the curb out. So, but if they have their utility trailer on a solid surface backed into the side of their home or on their driveway, that's legal as long as it's not over the sidewalk. If they had a nuisance business that is generally a nuisance, I'm not gonna speak to that because I can't. I gotta pull my thread back. Because I want to make sure I don't misspeak. But it generally speaking, as long as it's not infringing on the public property, sidewalks, curb, gutter, road, they can essentially do what they want to and need to do on their home-based business with certain restrictions. There's certain parameters that are still allowed to be governed. But they don't say how we manage parking.
okay,
The management of our parking comes from us
okay,
determining on, yes, we've got safety, you've got just general traffic.
Mm.
And the fact that a lot of our complaints are from people who bring their trailer home every night, leave it in front of their house, and then they leave. It's there all weekend. And
mhm,
some folks really don't like it. And it becomes a judgment call then for that
mhm.
kind of the wishy-washy on, is it really a safety issue? No, my trailer's really nice and you guys, and it's far enough away from the stop sign. And it's far enough away from my driveway, therefore it's not a safety issue. So it becomes, maybe. So
Mhm.
it becomes a judgment call again for the sheriff when, it's good to have it tight enough so that no, this is the deal. You bring your trailer, maybe you go in and you have lunch. Fine. You come in, you come home for lunch. You're there with your truck and your trailer and you're gone in an hour. No big deal. You come in and you unload and you load. You want to load a couple of, for an example, load a couple of lawnmowers in there that you were, fixing overnight in your garage to get ready for the next day. They're out of there, they're gone, and they're not there day in and day out. It essentially could be many, many days. They go on vacation, truck and trailers in front of the house, it's there for a week. And it's finding that loophole that we're trying to very intentionally close tonight. So that we're not right back where we started with, are we comfortable having them bring the trailers home? Based on our complaints and the challenges we have is, staff is recommending that unless they're actively loading or unloading for an activity. The other day I had my carpets cleaned. Guy comes in, got a commercial vehicle in our cul-de-sac, cleaning the carpets, great, no problem. They're
Mhm.
actively engaged in what they're doing. Maybe he comes in with a trailer to do that. This happened to be a van, no problem. But they come with a trailer, they're actively participating in a thing. That's covered under this, there for a couple of hours, no problem. It's when they're there for a longer amount of time, that is where we're getting our pushback.
So when we're talking about the storage of trailers rather than like the parking,
What's-
using the road for its purpose, like the storage of trailers, people are storing either short-term overnight
Yep,
or long-term.
yep. They're using,
That's not what we
yes,
want.
they're using it as their overnight storage facility
Mhm,
for that business that is impactful to the community.
right.
And that's where we've been getting our pushback. And that's am I missing it, team?
No, I think you're hitting it on. One thing I'd like to mention though is one of the issues when we were first looking at this is with these trailers, some of them that are being complained on, there's not a clearly definable safety issue.
Mhm.
And so some of that came into play because the trailers, I mean, I guess you could say from a safety standpoint of, there's a trailer parked here. Some of them have been on wide roads. But it was just a trailer not attached to another vehicle. Is that a safety issue? And if so, why? And so those are some of the issues that we struggled with how to even define what a safety issue is with some of these. And that's where the general term of a trailer disconnected from a primary mover is
Mhm.
not okay. So I think that there's a lot of things to look at in that area and I guess that's the biggest thing is, what you want to do. If trailers are okay, like the mayor was saying, is a trailer a problem by and of itself? And if so, how do we write it for that? Or is it just safety issues that we want to address with that?
And the safety issue won't stand up in court because that's nebulous and we won't be able to
Mhm.
prosecute it. So you basically remove, unless it's like right in violation of a stop sign or a intersection or something like that, we really wouldn't have the
Okay.
clarity. Therefore, the language of 2 hours using
Mhm.
during an activity, trailer needs to go.
Mhm.
Overnight, no. They don't come in, we're not using the city streets for overnight storage for businesses,
Okay.
is the intent.
It is.
Maybe that terminology of short-term and long-term storage could be used somehow.
Mhm.
2 hours.
2 hours.
Working, doing the thing, coming home, grabbing lunch. The intent is to get the trailers off the streets. Get them off the streets overnight, get them off the streets over the weekend. If they're not actively engaged in an activity, the intent is to have them off the streets citywide. That's what we're bringing to you based on the complaints that we're having. If we have no complaints, it's like, who cares?
I see the point of where I feel a little conflicted. I see the point and I see our purpose. It's like if someone's running a small business, and it's not a safety issue, just a nuisance or it's annoyance to the neighbor. Like we're forcing them to rent a storage space that, I don't know. I get it.
It brings in that, well, is it okay for me to park the trailer because I am on a wide street? But it's not okay, the same person on a narrow street to park the trailer.
So I have two concerns that weren't addressed here. I think they're in, I know they're in our code elsewhere, but I'm wondering how they play into it. We've talked in the past about, of course, parking on gravel. And we've got a bunch of it is xeriscaping now where people's front yards is entirely gravel, but we're still saying you can't park there. That's for looks, not touch, right? Is there a way we can write in something of that for these people who need their home-based business somewhere to park it? If we could say, yeah, park it on some gravel. It's got good road base. And then another one is driveway openings. They're only allowed a certain amount of distance for driveway openings. And so, well, we've got that, but I want to be in compliance. Can we allow to have wider driveway openings so that we can make sure that we're providing opportunities for them to park their vehicles better so that they're off the road?
It's a good point. If they want to make their driveway wider and make it bigger, it's their property. They should have the option.
It's actually not their property. It's the curb and gutter is an allowable width that, but if they're a good backer, it's not a problem. They can back in with one of the tires on on their driveway, one on the curb, if they're qualified backer. If they're not, if they haven't gone through the city approved qualified backing program, then they wouldn't be able to do that.
Jeez. But they
It's a-
can change an approach, can't
Yeah,
they?
they can have 32 feet right now, just.
Well, 32 feet.
32 feet is a lot, but I'm looking at the houses just on my street that needed more parking, and
Yeah.
so now they've built some sort of contraption to be able to get up. That's always in the gutter now, because they weren't allowed to cut out 10 more feet for their parking
They
needs.
probably, yeah,
That's a good
I think they
Can be.
Cause most of the lots down in that section of town are about, they're about 90 feet, 60 to 90 feet. And so 32 feet could be potentially half there. I mean, I think the problem, the challenge with cutting curb
Mhm,
is it's now requires an excavation, and they have to have an excavation bond. So
mhm,
they have to put up $2,000 and we hold it for a year.
mhm.
So that's just the
Okay.
bond that's gonna go sit over here. That's
Okay.
not how much it costs to do it.
Mhm.
And so that usually is the reason why people don't do it.
Okay,
I get phone calls all the time about
Mhm.
driveways, and
Mhm.
that is the reason that most people don't end up doing it, is because of the bond.
okay.
So, yeah. Yeah, we've actually, Jake and I have actually had to dive into the ordinance a lot recently, because I've had a couple people that have widened their driveway, and they're starting to encroach onto their front yard. Oops. So they have their driveway, and then
Mhm.
they're actually like encroaching towards their front door with concrete. And I was adamant that it was in the code somewhere, that you can't do that.
Mhm,
I can't find it anywhere. I looked for 3 days. And, cause there's a guy across town by the old fire station that has a oval shaped driveway.
mhm,
Not oval shaped. I can't.
Mhm.
Horseshoe.
A U, yeah, here we go. A U,
mhm,
like a U. No, that goes around, and then, and he was allowed to do that because he had two different entrances cut in.
mhm,
And he parks his RV right in the front of his house.
mhm.
And there was nothing in the code that said that. So that's the challenge cause I completely agree with you. I've had this thought in my mind many times, like, why don't we just let them park on gravel? Well, then you get people parking everywhere on their lot. And I think that will change. We already deal with code enforcement and yards not being taken care of. And now all of a sudden we're like, well, you can park your car in the front yard now. And I don't know if that's a better solution or not, but to me, it doesn't seem like it is. That's my own opinion. So, parking's hard, it's really hard,
Mhm.
it's very challenging. Probably harder than chickens.
Oh,
I had my,
well. Do you know kind of how we feel?
Yeah, I think we can take a stab. And we'll have to have, Bill review it, our city
Okay.
attorney.
Okay.
one more.
Oh, we're still
I'm
going.
Sorry.
No, keep going.
I know we're like done, but 10,950, we can't park a car that says for sale. Like, what if my mom is selling her car and comes to my house and has a for sale sign in my window? I think that's a little bit much. Any vehicle, trailer, or object of any kind on the road for purpose of displaying it for sale, obviously for the purpose of, but how do we determine what the purpose is? That's,
Is it sell sign?
right, it has a for sale sign, but
But that's the spirit.
But I have to park my car on the road because I'm parking my trailers in my driveway.
So-
Like,
That's right.
This is,
That's a hard one.
this is a problematic one too, so address that as you're
You get into that.
fiddling.
you get into the complaint base.
Oh, geez.
That was, what did you say that was? 10?
10,950,
I remember reading that, but
No sleep for this guy.
sorry.
I think
I
that
think I'm done now though, sorry.
the verbiage of, for the purpose of selling the vehicle,
Uh-huh.
or whatever, is the
yeah.
covers up.
There's one more, Jill, there's 10,960.
What's that one say?
No, it's not.
Oh, you want me to pick it?
No, you're good.
Jeff, don't encourage more talking from me.
Yeah, don't encourage more.
Did you want to address speed limits anywhere?
I do.
Let's raise them all to 45.
That's too low.
Okay, okay, yeah.
Well, they were saying in Salt Lake, they're lowering it to like 15, what?
All right,
Some of our streets ought to be nice.
It's only wheelchairs.
okay. Discussion,
Okay, I'm sorry. I
done?
really-
Okay, do your best with,
You got what you need?
I think so.
okay,
Give it a shot. And I don't know, we'll decide if we want to do
okay.
a work session or not with it.
okay,
Thanks, you guys.
okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your
you.
work.
That's one of my A teams right there.
Well, that's good because the work is only just going to begin on December 1st.
Guys, Amy's still here.
I know, she's
know.
amazing.
All right.
And it is cold.
Martin, can you get us some of those hangers too that you're gonna, the warning, you're gonna put on cars? Okay, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate the group that's helping us and we appreciate all your thoughts. That's a tough one, but we'll get through it. So, okay. Item number 9, council communication with staff. Michael, can we start with you?
Yeah, for me, I've had a couple complaints on the survey on, they didn't feel like they can voice as much as they wanted, so maybe we need to up the word limit out from 80 to 100 is what most of them said.
Is that Jill?
No, it wasn't Jill. And then I had a few people also talk about the fall cleanup. A lot of them that talked to me were single ladies that they were able to get it to the curb, but they couldn't get anybody to help them bring it to the waste station. So they were wondering if there was any way, like, if for the future, if they could call and have somebody from the city come pick it up if they couldn't get anybody else.
I don't know, we could look at that, see if that's level, if that's a level of service you guys want to provide.
Yeah, that was, I had an experience just today. A lady asked me when the times were for the pickup. And I said, well, all the way till the end of the month, the last day. So good, I got a lot of leaves and stuff. And I just happened to say, do you have a way to get them over there if you rake them all up? She said, no, I don't. I says, well, can I help you? She says, yeah, would you? I said, sure, I got a truck. Give me a call. Gee, she called me the next day. She already had them all raked. So I picked them up today and took them to her. So if we could kind of out there.
To that point, Michael, one thing we can probably share with you guys is that we have a list of people who voted, who responded, yes,
yeah,
they'd be happy
yeah.
to help. And we can coordinate that maybe with reaching out to them saying, hey, this is a person that has agreed to help out with this. And we are linking you so that you guys can have a conversation. And that way they can,
There you go.
those who said yes, provided some contact information so we can follow through back in. That's not obviously on the report that we provided. We don't want that to be public, but it is a great option to be able to use that where people say, yes, we're happy to help. We feel it's very important.
With that, then I feel like we would need to be the middleman,
Yeah.
not saying, here's this list, follow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
That's what I
no,
was gonna say.
no freebie list.
I was just gonna say kind of the same thing. Can the staff handle that, or you want one of us to kind of be a middleman on that, saying,
It'd be a nice,
and communicate and say, hey, I have some people that need help. You indicated you're willing to help. Can we
Do-
connect you?
how would you guys feel about linking up on that?
I'd be fine with that.
Mhm.
Does that seem like a good link? That way it keeps it kind of volunteer to volunteer to volunteer.
Yeah.
Kind of a link and then staff can focus on what they're doing. That might be a nice way to make that work and then say, if you have a need to have some help with pickup, reach out to one of the mayor or council members. And then you guys can coordinate a link up. That would be a nice way to do it. And then we can get that contact information to all of you for next year.
I'd be happy to do that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
could connect volunteers, the staff busy with, what they need to be doing.
When is the last, forgive me, I don't know. I don't recall. When's the last time cleanup?
To the month 29th, isn't it?
Is it the 29th? So if I got that information out to all of you sooner than later, that would be helpful.
Yeah, 29th. Well, who knows? That'd be the day after Thanksgiving. We're not open. So it'd be the 27th,
Okay,
the day before Thanksgiving.
now let's do that. Do you want us to advertise that on like Facebook or something? Or do you want it
Well,
just
that's what I was thinking.
as needed?
We could do it on Facebook.
Because then you may be a little overburdened, I don't know. But it's up to you and those who are offering to help.
Well, I mean, it could even just be a request
Kind of word of mouth.
placed on Facebook that around our cleanup, if you're willing to help.
Yep.
You know,
And then I can give you guys the email address, the list that we have from the survey. And get you that. Cool.
And that's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Michael. Jeff?
I'll be brief, nothing.
Okay, Cheryl?
I asked earlier about the slide at Bright Park and any plans for replacing it, maybe something we're looking CBDG
You are pretty smart.
on track.
We have 3 playgrounds that are all the same age
Oh, geez.
and they're all falling apart. And it's curious that, yeah, it's not, yeah, we'll be back with you for more information later.
Appreciate that. So
Okay, Z?
I think I know the answer, but I promised a citizen that I would ask the question, so here it is. So the Washington Terrace Elementary, their playground was a mess and they just did a fundraiser. So while the fundraiser was going on, someone asked the question towards us, is like, why don't the city, because it's in the city, like donate some money for the fundraiser? It already ended. I think they reached their goal, but just for my knowledge and future knowledge, like, is that something we do, or is it because it's under Weber School District, it's strictly their business?
That's right. It's where it's a Weaver School District resource. We leave that up to the district to deal with and to manage. Where we deal with our own challenges and our own needs to supply the same population
Right.
with recreation equipment. Let's use that as an example. We focus our resources for the resources that we're providing. So we don't contribute to those activities.
Cool, thank you.
Not to be selfish, that's it. But
Yeah, there is the Weaver District, there's the Weaver Foundation
Right.
that helps and they
No,
occasionally get that done.
yeah,
yeah.
like, okay, I don't want to open that can of
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
It's like, we're the second lowest funded public school system in the country.
really,
Yeah, and I know we have millions of dollars to change our flag, but not enough to give playground to our children.
Yeah.
Off to Jill, okay, I don't wanna continue on that one.
We have to have bake sales to
Yeah,
to
why?
buy.
Why can't we
playground
give it to
equipment.
our kids?
So rough.
But go
So,
ahead, please.
yeah.
Take it away, Jill.
Jill, anything?
Nothing.
Huh?
I know, right?
Yes.
The mind reels.
Okay, couple things. Tom, I don't know if you were gonna cover the meeting with the representatives.
you or me.
I'll let you do
Either-
that.
Either way.
I do have one thing, a request. This is kind of a tradition. Those of you who are new to the council may not have been involved in this before, but as a tradition, the council and myself usually offer for a holiday gift for our employees, 1 day off between Thanksgiving and this year would be January 12th. Instead of taking the group out to a fancy lunch or providing gifts for them, we found that to keep costs low, we would just provide 1 day, I'll give them a certificate for 1 day off for this busy time of the year to spend Christmas shopping or spend with their families and whatever. But we've done that for how many years, Tom? 10, 12, for a long time.
About 13.
The employees really like it. It really, is, I would say, cost efficient because it, really doesn't cost us really anything. We just, somebody fills in and helps out. So, but I would like the council's permission to continue that tradition. And if we do that, we'll get some coupons made up for all of our employees and give them a day off as a Christmas thank you this year. So any thoughts? Would everybody be okay with that?
I'd support that.
Yeah, let's save papers and just tell them you get a day off.
Attach it to your, Sheree keeps it very tight.
Yeah, we gotta keep
Yeah.
track of it. We don't want,
Oh,
we don't want any shenanigans going on.
Well,
all right.
and also the coupon is from you. Intentionally as a thank you, as a gesture of appreciation, and it's not entitled. Staff does not see this as an entitlement. It is genuinely appreciated by your team. And we appreciate the support that you guys share with us on that gesture. It's not taken lightly. And we really appreciate it. It is not in lieu of Wafflepalooza, which is a Tom and Annette sponsored activity. And you're all going to be invited to Wafflepalooza, obviously. I don't have a date yet. I'm still working with the chef on the appropriate date for
Oh, nice.
Wafflepalooza.
Nice. Okay. Okay. That's all I have. Thank you. Employees appreciate that. And I think it's the least we can do. I think, we have a great staff from, from just kind of our part-timers, Martin and Tyler, to, everybody. We have a great group of people. So, we appreciate each and every one of them. That's all I have. Tom, take it
Okay.
away.
Yeah, we attended the Utah League of Cities and Towns this week and
No.
Monday, yesterday.
Ledge policy
just
committee,
Ledge policy, what did I say?
Utah League of Cities and Towns, Utah League, it kind of
Yeah, the other things.
put on with them.
Okay, LPC, something
LPC,
like that.
all these.
Yeah, it's one of those things. But we were talking there about the idea of being able to reach out to our legislators and build a relationship with them, especially we have a new legislator in for our city that we'd like to reach out to and become acquainted with, and to have them both us understand their needs and how we can be supportive and helpful to them, and how they can be supportive and helpful for us as we try to navigate some of the threats that we get from the state on mandates with housing and other things, and with literally many aspects of our city. So we'd like to reach out to our legislators and see if they would like to meet with us on the 17th, just as an informal meeting here at the round table. We don't have a city council meeting scheduled for the 17th. But we'd like to see if you guys, if all or some of you would be interested in meeting together with them and to have a conversation about what's going on and how they can help minimize the threats, and support the things that we have going as a city. We had beautiful support for the grant with the fire truck. One of the reasons I feel like that support was there is because we had worked on building relationships, whether it's individually or collectively as a group. So curious if any or some of you would like to meet with them on the 17th. We have not reached out to them yet to see if any or all of them can meet, but how would that, is that a bad plan? Is that?
That is a Tuesday,
That would be
That's the
the
Tuesday, the
that would
17th,
have
third
otherwise-
Tuesday.
and at what time?
5 o'clock.
So
I
we
would be
had,
interested in that.
that would be our regular meeting night for council.
Yeah.
But we would just basically in place of that, be doing this.
We could put next time we can do a change to our meeting schedule and add that night as a meeting. And then if we need to have a meeting afterwards, if there's something that comes. Right now it's not on the schedule, but we can definitely do it. So, yeah.
Yeah, we usually don't have a second council meeting in December, just as kind of a, day off for us, a gift to ourselves.
Cookies and punch.
Right. And so, but,
Cookies and punch.
what's the December 17th look like for an hour? For
Just
sure.
kind of one of those.
Five
Just
was
like-
a little rough.
Let's do it at 6. 5's a little early.
6 is fine.
Let's do 6.
6 works better.
No, I'll do 5. We're not in a rush. And
No
just,
problem.
just for half hour, an hour, and maybe we'll
Yep.
get some
I have
cookies or
commitment-
something.
I have a commitment at 8.
Oh, we'll be,
We'll be
hopefully we'll be done by
half hour.
You better be.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it
Everybody
won't take-
okay if we reach out to them? We'll try to get all three of them. Okay. We
Okay.
have Senator Milner and
Right.
Milner's a senator.
Yeah.
Then we have our two representatives, Katie Hall. And then we're split down.
Oh,
the
yeah,
middle.
we're split, yeah.
Yeah, we're split.
Right.
You know that, what they call that, gerrymandering? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know that.
And then we have the new Jill Colford is the new one
I know.
that we have, so, okay? So, okay, we'll reach out to them and see how they can, if they can work. Okay,
Okay, and then, we will be doing a presentation. Let me get the information straight on this. Let me type this 1 second. We will be putting there is. Get me to- Wait for it. There we go. No, it's not.
you know, you like this, that we, okay, you notice in our new, or in our old, that first one up there, that's just in the basic warning before you get to the winter. Unlawful for owner to park on a public road, continual period in excess of 24 hours. That's kind of interesting, but we already have, and these can't leave their car
Right.
parked there.
Just
Yeah.
move it.
But you have weekends and you have, where like that, that's, you're gonna park it for 48 hours. But it goes down to the winter parking restrictions, but I like we put it on there.
I didn't know that. And now through YouTube, everyone. knows.
As Tom looks through there, let me go to upcoming events. Tom, are you gonna mention the retreat? I'll leave that to you.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and just invite, breakfast is at 7:30. We'll start our activity at 8 o'clock. What? Send your time. Okay. 8
Yeah.
o'clock,
Yeah, we got the
8 o'clock,
agenda.
the
7:30 breakfast.
7:30 breakfast, 8 o'clock, I typoed?
No, you got it.
Amy sent the agenda and everything out.
Did,
Yeah.
did the dates as, I think it says, I don't know, it says 20, it's off by one, so it is gonna be Friday and Saturday.
Friday and
It's
Saturday.
like the 21st and
Oh, sorry.
22nd. No, it's okay. The one that'll be posted will be.
Okay. Okay. Okay, Tom,
We have a modern income housing presentation that the cities throughout the county are doing. And I will get you the information on that. It's in the commission office area there where the cities will be setting up displays on the work that they're doing for affordable housing. And we are inviting state legislators, mayors, councils, anyone interested in the housing process to join us, to take a look at what the cities are doing. There are some people still suggesting that cities aren't doing anything. Yet we are suggesting that we do have a voice in this. We are doing work in that regard. So we are working to put together a presentation for that. It's just basically a little booth, kind of like a sixth grade science fair. If anybody can appreciate this, the big yellow one is the sun. But we'll be doing that. I'm gonna forward this invitation out to you guys at least by tomorrow to let you know. It's literally Thursday. If you're so inclined. We got a call today on it. It's like, hey, we need to do this thing. So I'm like, okay, I'll do this thing. Okay. Yeah. So just to credit where credit's due, Tannen is absolutely bailing me out on this and helping me put something together. So 3 thumbs up to Tannen. I appreciate him. I went in and I checked with him today and he goes, got it, Tom, no problem. So he's gonna help put something together. So if you're so inclined, that is there. Looking forward to meeting with the retreat. It should be absolutely spectacular because of your participation, your active interest in what we're doing. This will be a success because of you. So thank you. We're looking forward to it. And I don't have anything else at this time unless you have a question.
pressure's on. Pressure's on us. Okay, thank you, Tom. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that retreat. It's nice to get started early and work with staff just a little bit. Kind of nice. Appreciate that. See you bright and early on Thursday morning. City offices will be Friday morning.
Friday. Sorry, team, my bad.
Jeez, Friday morning, Friday and Saturday morning. Okay, city offices closed for Thanksgiving holiday, November 28th and 29th. December 3rd will be our next city council meeting with a work session and council meeting at 6. The work session planned? Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay. Yes, we will. Saturday, December 14th is our candy cane run. We look forward to that. That'll be well advertised. Probably already has been well. No,
What's the time on that again?
what time do they start that? 8 o'clock, 8:30?
Yeah.
Then just follow the siren.
Yeah, it'll be in the newsletter.
So
Are we gonna have the map again this
I
year?
think we'll have that map, yeah.
That was awesome.
I know, that's kind of
How did I
fun.
go out?
See that little map? Sometimes they take a wrong turn, it kind of messes up a little bit. Last year they took a wrong turn when they got up
Turn
near
right
my
there, yeah.
house. But, yeah, so,
Calls, where are they?
yeah, that should be in the newsletter because that'll get there way before the 14th, but it's usually 8 or 8:30. So, okay. And then, of course, Christmas holiday, city offices will be closed. Planning commission meeting on the 26th. As far as I know, no, tentative? Tentative, okay. Don't put that in ink. Okay, I don't have anything else. I didn't plan on staying this long, but we had a good conversation with our committee over there, and so appreciate all your help tonight on everything. I'm gonna entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
All in favor, say aye.
hi.